What is up, Nuggets? It's your boy, Killer Pizza, here with a brand new video for all you rascals and rapscallions out there. We're dealing with a pretty strange time right now with this coronavirus. I hope everybody is doing well. I know a lot of you guys are in lockdown, so I figured what better time to do something I've never done before, which I'm going to give you guys my top 20 favorite horror movies of all time. Now, maybe when you guys are in lockdown, quarantine, you can look up some of these movies and check them out for yourself. Some I've reviewed. Most of these that I haven't, I would love to review in the future, so we'll get right into it. The very first one is a movie that I did review. That is The Blob. This wouldn't normally be on my list, even a year ago, but after Scream Factory's release came out, I rewatched it. Absolutely loved this movie. I probably only seen it one time since I was a kid. I won't go too on about this. I have a review on my channel if you want to hear more, but great, great movie. Another one, I believe I did a review of this. I don't even remember anymore, but The Burning. Pretty much Friday the 13th Part 1 went down in 1980, and Tom Savini was the special effects artist, and then The Burning was kind of like a copycat film of it. It's very similar. Camping movie and whatnot, with a killer coming back for revenge. Tom Savini actually jumped from the production of Friday the 13th Part 2 because he thought, there was nowhere to go from there. I mean, how ironic. But he jumped on The Burning, which some of his best effects are in this movie. Very fun camp movie, lots of good kills, good story. I absolutely love this movie. Now, I have the whole Child's Play box set right here, but I'm going to have to go with Child's Play Part 1. A little darker than the others, especially all the Bride of, Seed of, Chucky movies, but the very first movie is absolutely amazing. The whole possession with Charles Lee Ray putting his body into the doll and everything. It's a lot darker than you guys probably remember. A classic for a reason, and honestly, probably one of my very favorite franchises when it comes to the classics. When it comes to Friday the 13th, Halloween, Child's Play, and so on. I love Part 1. Really like Part 2. Actually, really like Part 3, but Part 1's the only one to go on my list. Then we have George Romero and Stephen King working together for Creepshow, a great anthology film. Not much to say about this. I mean, I could ramble on too much about this one. I should probably do a review of this one, but yeah, just one of the best anthology horror films you'll ever see with George Romero and Stephen King behind it. How can you go wrong? Great release by Scream Factory, by the way. Check this one out. Then I have Creepshow 2, which, unpopular opinion, this is actually, I prefer this one over the first. I think it's because as a kid I watched this way more. But yeah, they had to cut a couple skits short with this one. So, it's notoriously not known as good as the first. But this one holds a special place in my heart. It's still really good. Definitely worth a watch. Then this one was kind of a surprise. I bought this as a blind buy Chopping Mall. It's kind of corny, but it's absolutely amazing. I would love to review this sometime in the future. Pretty much in a nutshell, three guys work at a furniture store in the mall, and they have their three girlfriends come over to the mall after hours to party and try to get it in, And pretty much they have these new state-of-the-art robots that are gonna replace security guards in shopping malls. And there's some crazy thunderstorm that happens. The lightning strikes the power on top of the roof, and it turns these robots into killbots, which this movie is also known as killbots in other countries. But absolutely corny, absolutely cheesy 80s fun, some good kills, great story, a lot of fun. I highly suggest checking this one out. Then we're going to go to one of my very first reviews I ever did was an Italian film, Demons. I used to always see this in the video stores when I was younger. I finally bought it once I kind of got my collection going. I was not disappointed in any way, shape, or form. This is a great story, fun plot, super gory. Italian horror films don't fuck around when it comes to gore. This one is amazing. The sequel is pretty good too, but I'm just doing a top 20. So yeah, get both of them. Then got a little 2-for-1 here. How could I do this without including the original Halloween. This was like my original favorite horror movie. You really can't go wrong with this, Michael Myers. I mean, I don't really need to say much more about this one. The creator of the slasher movie, and then I'm also going to throw in my top 20 part 2 Halloween. Like a fun part of part 2 is it actually continues directly after part 1 ends, which a lot of people I feel just watch part 1 and ended at that. But it's so worth it to watch both in a row because it's pretty much one film. And yeah, for that I have to throw both in. Amazing. Then we have the Bible right here. George Romero, Night of the Living Dead. Now, when I first watched this as a kid, I wasn't so much into it. Black and white. You know, I could never get into the old classic monster movies or a lot of old horror that were black and white. I don't know. I wish I could. It's just me. I never care for the black and white, but this is like the foundation of a lot of horror movies. And George Romero's first zombie flick, an instant classic, a must have for anyone that collects horror. And the good thing about this is you can find this at a lot of places for about $5. So I mean, yeah, why not get it? And then I actually don't have a DVD for my next pick, or a Blu-ray, I should say. I only really collect Blu-rays these days. Sorry, guys, I can't talk. But that's Dawn of the Dead. They actually only made a Blu-ray of it over 10 years ago, and they haven't made a new copy of it. And the only ones you can find are over $100 for a Blu-ray, and I will not pay that. But the good news is the Dawn of the Dead Blu-ray will be coming out, I believe, through Arrow Video. Correct me if I'm wrong. At the end of the year, I know it's being released by the end of this year on Blu-ray again. But Dawn of the Dead, pretty much Night of the Living Dead, starts out where like the zombies are coming to life and nobody really knows what's going on. And Dawn of the Dead is kind of like the panic, like we're going in right now with this virus of like, oh my god, what's happening? How can we contain it? And people trying to like figure things out. And then I go to the actual third movie in a row from George Romero that's in my list as well. The one I just reviewed in my last video, that would be George Romero's Day of the Dead, is more where like they're quarantined down in a bomb shelter or whatnot, a bunch of scientists and military soldiers. If you want to hear more about this, check out my most recent classic horror review. Absolutely amazing. One of my very, very favorites. And then I guess we'll keep the zombie theme going. This is probably my most watched movie as a kid. It's actually Tom Savini's directorial debut. Who did a lot? Tom Savini did a lot of effects on obviously a lot of classic horror movies, but he was known for doing a lot of work for George Romero and his zombie flicks. So this is his directorial debut for Night of the Living Dead from 1990, which I also did a review of this as well. Tony Todd plays Ben. Absolutely amazing job. This is one of my very favorite horror movies. It's kind of like the time and place that you see a movie. I seen this when I was so young and just loved it and just never stopped renting it from the video store. If you've never seen the remake, this is definitely worth watching. Then we have Nightbreed, which a funny story about this. I meant to do a review about this as well, but I never rented this movie as a kid. I always thought this was a vampire movie for some reason, and I'm not the biggest fan of vampires, but it is completely different. And I actually got the director's cut, which is the only version I've ever seen, which has, I think, like 20 to even 40 minutes of unseen footage from the theatrical release. So this movie, the uncut version, director's cut, is over 2 hours long. And I was proven wrong from what I thought about this movie. I prefer this over the first two Hellraiser movies. I think this is Clive Barker's best movie. And if you've never seen this one, I highly suggest watching it. Pretty much, this guy, I haven't seen it in a minute. He's framed for murder or something's going awry where there's some like other dimension or a darker side that has like all these monsters there. And he thinks like if he can hide on that side of the dimension or whatnot, he can get away from his troubles. And then it kind of turns into a battle between man and monsters where the men are kind of more of the monsters. And it's just a really interesting movie. For the director's cut that I watched, it didn't drag too long. Over 2 hours of film just flew right by. This movie blew me away with how good it was. And then we're going to go into another one. Let's see the director's name. I want to say it. I can't forget it. I'd feel like an asshole. It's well, geez, I guess I just can't. I'll put it in the description. But this is actually the directorial debut of one of Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell's high school friends, and takes place in the supermarket in Michigan at night during the night shift. Which to any Michigander, that's very relatable. Sam Raimi and his brother and Bruce Campbell all have cameos in this. This is such a fun story, kind of a whodunit kind of slasher, which I normally don't like. At least when like the cops get involved in it, because I don't really like crime movies. I mean, I like gangster movies, but I don't like police investigation movies, if that makes sense. But yeah, fun who did it. There was a lot of really good gore in this movie, where like each person in each department of the grocery store gets killed in a different way based on like the products or tools that they use in the department. So a lot of creative kills, very gory. This scene where this guy's head is cut in half in the meat department is one of the nastiest and most gory kills you'll ever see. I highly suggest watching this. A review of this coming very soon. Then another one I reviewed recently when I was really sick on Valentine's Day, My Bloody Valentine. I had to wait until Scream Factory released this a couple days before Valentine's Day to check it out for the first time. Unbelievable movie. I mean, so many movies based around Valentine's Day could have just had it on Valentine's Day. Oh, there's a Valentine's Day dance and a killer comes around, which is kind of the plot of the movie, but there's a really fun like love triangle in this, which adds a different element to the movie. Good kills, fun little twist at the end, especially on this director's cut, which Scream Factory is really good for that. But this was an instant classic from the day I watched it, and in my top 20, just like that. And I heard the remake is really good. I own it, but I haven't got a chance to watch it yet. But I definitely suggest checking this one out. My very favorite horror movie of all time, Return of the Living Dead. It honestly doesn't get any better than this, which says a lot because the kills are pretty weak in this movie, not too gory, but the characters, the punk kids trying to party, and just the comedy in this, the soundtrack. I can't say much more. I mean, Tarman right here, iconic. This is actually the first zombie movie that implied that zombies eat brains. I'm gonna have to do a review about this. I've been wanting to do one, but I know I will. I could literally talk all day about this. If you have never seen this movie, you better ask somebody, because this is as good as it gets. My very favorite. If you pick one movie to watch out of all these that I suggest, Return of the Living Dead. This is the good shit right here. Then we got Sleepaway Camp. I'm a sucker for like movies where they're at camp, Friday the 13th and all that, and The Burning. Though I don't have any Friday the 13th picks in here, sorry. But this is good, and it's fun too because this is actually like a camp movie where they actually have real like kids in it, real teenagers rather than adults playing the role. And I like a lot of these camp slashers because they have a lot of humor in it in a way of like, I don't like when a horror movie is too serious because people are going to joke around. It's everyday life. But when the killing and slashing, all that gets going, shit gets real. And in case you never heard, this has one of the most iconic twist endings you'll ever see. You have to see it to believe it. Any horror fan would suggest watching Sleepaway Camp. Absolute classic. Check it out. Then I got two of them here. This is Slumber Party Massacre. I just want to show the original cover, but I also got the steelbook not too long ago. So that's the steelbook with Russ Thorn on it. Now, this was one based on this cover I never wanted to rent as a kid. I always thought my mom would think I'm renting like a porno or something, which I said in my review of this movie before, which is in on my channel somewhere, one of my first reviews. But I was so pleasantly surprised because this movie is actually like directed by a woman, written and directed by a woman. So there's a lot of like girl power in this movie, on top of all like the boobs and all that. So it's very fun. The killer, Russ Thorn, is absolutely amazing. One of the most underrated slashers. I actually have his doll up there that came with this limited edition steelbook. I don't collect toys very often, but that's how awesome I thought Russ Thorn was, the killer. I had to get it to go on my shelf. But yes, I highly suggest checking this one out. It's actually only An hour and 12 minutes long, so very easy to watch. It flows great. Everything about this movie is unbelievable. The very last one I got. How could I not include this? How could I not put a little Kurt Russell up in the mix here? Probably one of the baddest dudes ever. The remake. John Carpenter's The Thing. Kurt Russell. This has one of the best plots. One of the best sceneries. One of the best places where a movie could take place. It's so different than so many other horror movies. So much good gore. John Carpenter knocked it out of the park with this one. And Kurt Russell is the fucking man. Kurt Russell is close to Bill Murray awesomeness. I'll just throw it out there. This is one of the more popular picks in my top 20. I know I have some obscure ones a lot of you guys have probably never seen. But John Carpenter's The Thing, the remake of The Thing, unbelievable. A lot of my friends' very favorite. Definitely worth the watch. Yeah, maybe I'll do a review of this one very soon too. And yeah, I mean, I didn't mean to fly through those so quick, but 20 movies, I try to keep it under a minute apiece. I don't want to make this video 30 minutes, which I could. I can do a review of any of these movies. Gladly, I'll do a review. Leave it in the comments if you want to see one. And yeah, I would say a lot of these movies are very easy to pick up on Amazon, which you probably won't get it for a good 3 weeks due to this virus going on. But, you know, a lot of these films are also available on streaming services, maybe Shudder or Amazon Prime. You can find a lot of these on YouTube as well. And I would suggest any of the 20 movies I just said. And I know I'm a little biased because they're my favorites, not some other bozos. But I swear, I'm not going to let you guys down on this one. You watch any one of these 20 movies, if you like horror, even if you don't for that matter, I guarantee you'll be entertained. Or your money back. But I'm not paying any of y'all. So fuck you guys. I'm just kidding. I love you guys. I hope everybody stays safe during all this. It's a lot more serious than we thought. You know, only go out if you need to. You know, if you wear a mask, don't keep taking the mask off in public to talk to people. I've seen that a lot. It's really stupid, but I mean, what do I know? I'm just some dude who collects horror movies. But with that being said, I'm going to enjoy my Easter weekend. I hope the same for you guys. Like I said, be safe. Watch some horror movies over this weekend. It's good for your soul. Blood, guts, gore. I will check you guys next time.